A rare and deadly virus sweeps the world. All infected people go to heaven. What's even scarier is that all newborn babies in the hospital are mutated. They took on the characteristics of animals. Some babies had spikes on their backs like hedgehogs. Some babies had hawkish noses and feathers all over their bodies. This sudden phenomenon left doctors at a loss. They studied the newborn babies. It turned out that all the changes were caused by a new deadly virus. Panic spread through the community. People set fires to burn all the mutated babies. But the boy with the deer ears survived. It turns out that the boy's father got the news in advance. To escape the research and survive, he took his son and all his belongings to live in the mountains. At the same time, he put up a wire mesh around the house. They lived a self-sufficient and isolated life here. In a flash, the antler boy grew up. The boy's name was Jack. One day Jack was reading a book as usual when he suddenly felt a movement behind him. It turned out to be a giraffe foraging for food. Jack looked at each other's ears and found that he and the giraffe looked very much alike. So he mistook the giraffe for his mother. He followed the footprints and went there, looking at a big hole in the wire mesh. Jack was curious. He took the first step with courage. He found that the world outside the fence was very beautiful. This made Jack more eager to see the outside world. Suddenly, a roar of a wild animal came. Jack was scared and backed up. Unexpectedly, he bumped into his father. The father was very angry with Jack's behavior. Without saying a word, he grabbed his son and ran back. At night, the father told Jack the truth. He told his son, "There is a new virus in the outside world. People infected with the virus will go to heaven. Now the city is in ruins. The survivors are killing each other. It would be especially dangerous to go out now." The next day, a strange man found them. He also marked the barbed wire fence with a red strip of cloth. Father understood that their trail had been exposed. In a short time, more humans would come here to protect Jack. The father immediately opened a secret passage and told Jack to hide. Then he rushed out and took care of the intruders. But when his father returned, he was badly injured. Not long after that he went to his heaven. With his father gone, Jack was left to live on his own at the age of 10. He learned to fix his own faucet and tried to chop his own wood. But the results were not what he wanted. Even the dead twigs also bullied him. Finally Jack set fire to the weeds. But what he didn't know was that it was very dangerous to set fires in broad daylight. That day Jack was lying in bed resting. Inadvertently he found a map. According to the markings on the map, he found the box left by his father. There was a picture of a woman inside. The photo also had an address written on it. Jack understood that this must be his mother, so he rushed to get the map to determine the location. He took his luggage and prepared to find his mother, but he just walked to the edge of the forest and found a cookie lying on the ground. Jack picked it up and smelled it close to his nose, then opened it and took a bite. This is a taste he had never tasted before, and not far in front of him there was another cookie. Greedy, he just wanted to bend down to get. Unexpectedly, but the cookie slipped away. The boy was born with a pair of antlers, half human, half animal. His sense of smell is very sharp. One day he found a cookie in the forest. Just as he was about to bend down to pick it up, an arrow was shot at him. Jack sensed the crisis. He hurriedly hid in the grass. He watched quietly from the shadows. He found a peculiar-looking hunter. Just as Jack was about to strike back, a man suddenly appeared behind him. The two hunters were amused by the antlers on Jack's head. They wanted to sell him for a good price as a wild deer. Jack struggled and pushed the hunters away. The angry hunter raised his shotgun and aimed at Jack. The hunter fell straight to the ground. Another fellow hunter was also hit by an arrow. Jack was terrified. He looked up and slowly looked up. Behind him emerged a big figure. It was the strong man who saved him. Jack panicked and fled to his home. He locked the door behind him. Then he sprinkled debris on the ground. Then he immediately hid in the basement. The strong man came in and saw through Jack's charade. He dodged the trap and grabbed him out, but did not hurt him. It turns out that the strong man named Tom is also a bounty hunter. He has been a hunter for so many years, or the first time to see talking orcs. The kind-hearted Tom decided to let him go. Before leaving he also helped him to fix the pipe. At the same time, he told him not to go out. Jack begged Tom to take him to his mother, but Tom refused him severely. He threw a bottle and tricked Jack to pick it up. He wanted to get rid of him in this way. He didn't expect. At night Jack sneaked up on him again. Tom had no choice but to agree with him. Out of pity, he took out his own food and gave it to Jack. The next day, Tom woke up and found that Jack had eaten all the food. He was very angry. Without food they could not get out of the forest. But at that moment, Jack touched his nose and pointed ahead. Tom looked ahead and was surprised to find a house on the waterfall. Tom was not far away with a gun to protect Jack to take the food and leave. Jack tiptoed open the door and walked in. He was amazed by everything in front of him. The next second, Jack was completely stunned. The boy with the antlers was terrified. A huge deer head caught his eye. He immediately turned around and ran away. Immediately after, a huge net hung Jack up. Then a family of 3 came out slowly. Jack thought they were hunters.
Leave my head alone! You can't have it!
Now they were confused. Fortunately, they were not bad people, and they were kind enough to invite them to dinner. The hosts treated the 2 uninvited guests with great hospitality. At the table, The family looked dumbfounded, while Tom and Jack ate with great pleasure. Tom pulled out his pinky and said, Jack was saved by him. I guess someone secretly raised him. The men were terrified to hear that. If someone finds out there's a foreigner in here, it could spell doom for their family, and Tom didn't want to stay. During the night he started to look for food and was ready to leave the next day. The women saw this scene. Tom pleads with the women to take in the lonely Jack and give him a full home. The women said they needed to ask their husbands for advice. Just then, a group of poachers suddenly came over and yelled at them to hand over Jack, or else they'll be punished. Tom told Jack to hide, but Jack was already terrified, seeing that the poachers were about to break into the house. Tom launched an attack. The poachers were no match for Tom, and the bad guys were put down one by him. Just when Jack was watching fascinated, suddenly a hunter with a gun slowly walked in. He looked around for Jack, then he shot a deer in the head. Jack angrily rushed to attack him with a slingshot, but there was no damage. Just as the hunter picked up his gun and was about to strike Jack, he saw a huge deer appear behind Jack, emitting a powerful and intimidating force. Just then, Tom appeared behind the hunter in time. The hunter went straight to heaven. The crisis was finally lifted, and the giant deer also disappeared. After what happened last night, the couple decided to give up taking Jack in, because they were afraid of getting into more trouble. The next day, Tom set off on a new journey with Jack. What kind of danger will be encountered in the future? We can only take one step at a time. Through this period of contact, Tom has long considered Jack as his own family. He also has a hidden obsession in his heart that no one knows about. He secretly vowed to help Jack find his mother. This is the end of the movie.